Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about how to set up Courseplay for doing silage when you have a silo pit that is closed off in one end, like the one that we stood right in front of here. Now this is on the map that I'm currently working on, but I know that a pit like this is also present on, for instance, Sandy Bay. So if you're playing on a map that has a silo pit like this, you can follow along and I will show you how I set up my Courseplay for doing this. We're going to be using pretty much just modded equipment, and we're playing on a modded map as well. So this is just to show you that it can be done with modded equipment all over. Only thing that isn't modded is the front weight of this tractor and the two other tractors that are driving the transport course. And the leveling blade that we have attached back on this tractor here. Also the Forage Harvester is the vanilla in-game Forage Harvester. Other than that, everything else is modded. So the first thing we want to set up is the leveling and compacting mode that we're going to do with this tractor here. So let's jump into this one and open up the Courseplay HUD by clicking the right mouse button. In Courseplay we want to go into the leveling and compacting mode, which is the button to the far right over here. That opens up the bunker silo settings, and in here we want to be in the leveling and compacting mode. Now there is a filling up mode as well, but it wouldn't really be relevant to us because we're both leveling and compacting at the same time. So let's go back to the leveling and compacting mode. We're also going to tell Courseplay that it needs to stop for all vehicles with running engine. That means that this tractor here will, in a radius of 50 meters, scan for any vehicle that has its engine turned on. That means that once it detects a tractor within 50 meters, this one will go to a designated waypoint that we're going to set up in a little while. And it's going to wait there for that tractor to be away from those 50 meters again. So as we just said, the detection zone is 50 meters. The blade width, I'm using the smaller of the two leveling blades that you have in the vanilla game. And I found out through testing that 5 meters working with seems to be working the best. So I'm just going to scroll up to 5 meters. You can use the plus and minus button out here, or you can use the mouse wheel to scroll. The max speed while pushing is set to automatic. There's no need to change that. And the blade height is also set to automatic. There's no need to change that as well. The silo is being filled by reverse unloading. Now that makes sense, seeing as you can't go through the silo, so there's no point in setting it to driving through. We're going to set it to reverse unloading. Alright, those are the settings that we need to care about for the bunker silo. So once we're done here, we can go over to the Courseplay control, start up the engine of the tractor, and we're ready to record a course. So to record a course for this tractor to drive, we're going to go into the silo, and we're going to try to stay in the center of the silo. So between the two walls here, we're going to stay pretty much in the center. And we need to start off the course recording well within the silo, so this is a good spot for it to start. So start the course recording, and we're going to go in a straight line up to here where we want this tractor to go and hide, so to speak, when it detects another tractor is on its way. So this is a good place. We're going to set a waypoint here. So now we've told Courseplay that once this tractor detects another tractor within the 50 meters of it, it needs to go to this point to wait for the other tractor to be gone. Once the tractor is gone, this tractor needs to return to the silo, so we're going to click the start reverse driving button and just go back to the silo. And I am going to stop around here. This is to have a sort of even ground for this tractor to stop on. Now I know that we're on a slope, but the slope is pretty much even, so this is a good place to stop it. So there we go, that's the leveling and compacting course for this tractor. I'm just going to click drive course, and you can see that it's going to go up to the waypoint to detect where that is, and once it's detected that, it's going to go back to the silo. It's going to go to one side to determine if the 5 meters is correct, and once it's done that, it's going to go back to the waypoint. Now as you can see here, the tractor is pretty goddamn slow, so we're going to set up the reversing speed from 6 kilometers, and we're going to set it up to 15 kilometers. The turn speed we're also going to set up to 15 kilometers, and we're going to do that because that's the speed that it's going to use when it's going from the silo up to the waypoint. And you can see the 5 meters seems to be working out pretty well. And there you can see the 15 kilometers an hour is the turn speed. Alright, that seems to be working just fine. Tractor is parked at the waiting point, and we are going to leave it there. And we're going to run on over to the Forage Harvester, which is the next one that we're going to set up. Alright, so the Forage Harvester, we are going to be going to field number 29, which is up here on the left. And yes, I am using the standard in-game Forage Harvester, but I'm pretty sure this would work with a modded Forage Harvester as well. Setting this up is fairly easy. Some new features has been added to Courseplay that I'm just going to talk a little bit about here. But we're going to stop here and open the Courseplay hub by clicking the right mouse button. Now we want to be in the fieldwork mode, which is this button here. And that opens up the course generation button, which is this button up here. And in here we're going to select field edge path for field number 29. Again, you can click the up and down arrow, or you can use your mouse wheel to scroll. The working width of this machinery is 6.2 meters. I'm going to set it down to 6 meters to have a little bit of overlay. Now the new features that I'm talking about is, amongst others, this starting location here. Now normally you would set the starting location to the corner closest to where you are. So in this case that would be the furthest most northern corner. And if I was to set furthest most northern and western corner, I would get this corner down here. So I can't really set anything up for this corner up here. However, that has been changed now. If we click through the corners, we get to the current vehicle position. So this is telling Courseplay it doesn't matter where on the field we are. This is where we want to start the course recording. Well, this is where we want to start the course. That also means that Courseplay is setting the starting direction by automatically here. I can't change that. Return to first point I don't really care about. And headlands I do care about. Now I found with the updated version of Courseplay there has been some updates to how the chase tractor reacts upon turning circles. So I found that setting up at least 6 headlands is necessary when doing forage harvesting. The headland corners, we could set them to turn, which would mean that we would have a sharp angle that the Forage Harvester would reverse and make a sharp corner. I want to set it to smooth. That seems to be soothing my playstyle more. Multiple tools is also a new function in the updated version of Courseplay. I'm going to get back to that in a later video, but basically you can set it up to have more than one Forage Harvester driving the same course. We're going to come back to that in another video. For this video, however, we only have one Forage Harvester, so we're not going to be caring about this. We do care about the way the headlands are being done. Now currently it's set to clockwise. I'm going to set it to anti-clockwise or counterclockwise. So it's going to be driving along down here, otherwise it would be driving along this side over here. It's just personal preferences, it doesn't really make any difference. But we've set up the course for the Forage Harvester, so let's click generate course. And we can see that it wants to start the course right where we parked pretty much. So let's reverse back a little bit. Like that. And we're going to say drive course from the first waypoint. And it's going to go to the first waypoint. And there we are. That is how to set up the Forage Harvester. So that's ready for the chaser to come along and drive next to it. So the Massey Ferguson has a couple of tasks that it needs to do. First of all, it needs to go from the field back to the silo, and from the silo back to the field again. So we're going to set up a transport course for that. Once it has that course, it also needs to follow the Forage Harvester along. But we're going to focus on setting up the transport course first. So this is a good place to start it. So to start up the transport course, you want to be in the combi mode, which is this button right there. And let's click the start recording. Start the course recording. Wow, that was difficult to say. And just drive back to the silo. Now remember to drive, stick to the side of the road and try to slow down for corners and stuff like that. Courseplay will try to drive the course the way you recorded it. So the better your recording is, the better Courseplay will handle the course. Some people will tell you to record these courses without the trailer. I don't really mind. For me it doesn't really matter. But down here you want to make sure that you have Courseplay set up correct. So we're going to go to this point here. So this is where we want Courseplay to go before it starts reversing. So let's click the start reverse driving and let's record a course down here. See if we can sort of make a smooth course back to the silo. So we want to go pretty much in the center of the silo, and we want to go well into the silo as well. So this is not a bad idea, driving this far back into the silo when you record this course, and then click the stop reverse driving. So you can see that when I click the stop reverse driving, Courseplay did set a waypoint right here. So it's basically telling that there is a waypoint further back than this one. It's just to make sure that once you come here with a full trailer, the tip trigger will be discovered and it will start to empty the trailer within the silo. It's just a good practice to go well into the silo to do this. Alright, we're done in the silo. We don't need to set a waypoint or anything. We can just drive out of the silo again and back to the field. And again, I'm sticking to the side of the road, like this. So we make sure that tractors can pass each other once we set up the second tractor for this transport course. And let's set a stop point. We're gonna go over here, like that. Set a stop point right there. That seems fine. And now the next thing we need to do is tell Courseplay which combine it needs to be following. So currently it's set to find automatic, but we're going to set it to select manually, and we're going to choose the big X, which is 51 meters away. And that's it. Drive course, and now we're going to see this tractor get stuck in trees. So initially you need to help this tractor along because it will get stuck in trees here. There we go. So I've done this, I've tested this a couple of times, and I know that I need to help this tractor along here. See if this works here. There we go. And it's off to a good start. Now I also know from previous experience that I need to set the offset closer to the Forage Harvester. Currently set to -7 meters. I'm going to scroll it down to -5 meters. And I'm doing that so I can get closer to the Forage Harvester. As you can see, I'm driving pretty much straight up against it. That is done because I have trees planted very close to the edge of this field. So those trees will get this tractor stuck if I don't put the offset closer to the Forage Harvester. I also know that this corner that we're coming up to right now is going to get us in trouble, so I need to drive this corner manually. Otherwise they will get stuck in traffic, these two machines here. Don't pay attention to the fact that I can drive through this pole here. It's just magic. Alright, Courseplay should be able to handle it from now, so I'm just going to leave it in the hands of Courseplay, and I'm going to get back to you guys once the trailer is just about full. I'll see you in a little bit. Alright, so the trailer is just about full, and now we're coming up to that one specific tree that needed us to set the offset to -5 meters and not -7. Had it been set to -7, we would have get stuck here, but setting it to -5, make sure that didn't happen. The trailer is full, and now the transport tractor is going to go back to where we set up the start of the transport course. And as you can see here, it's going through the crops, but once, or as long as Courseplay is driving the tractor, it doesn't really matter that it is going through the crops. It's going to turn off crop destruction. If I were to drive the tractor manually, the crops would get destroyed. However, when Courseplay is driving it, it doesn't really matter. The reason that it's driving through the crops, however, is basically that we're on the first lane of the headlands. We haven't got anywhere for this tractor to go. Because there is a function in Courseplay that is called Pathfinding, and it is activated. Pathfinding will scan the field that you're on, and it will try to avoid everywhere that the crops are growing. So once we have a couple of lanes of headlands, it will stop driving through the crops, just to let you know. So, but it doesn't really matter as long as crop destruction is turned off. You're not losing any crops in it. Only thing is that it's not as realistic as it would be in real life, but hey, there you go. So now it's coming up to the transport course. It's going to pick it up right there, and it's going to drive back to the silo and unload. So we're just going to follow it along here. Now remember, the tractor will try to drive the course the way we recorded it, so slowing down for corners and stuff like that will be taken into consideration. And there we go, it seems to be going just fine. If we can verify that this course is working, we're going to set up the case tractor to drive the same course in just a little while. We just want to make sure that everything is working fine here. So now it's going to start reversing. And don't worry about if your reversing is as bad as mine. Courseplay is actually really good at reversing, so it will get the job done. Now, and you can see down in the bottom of the screen it says tip trigger reached. However, it still continues quite a way into the silo before it starts unloading. That's because we set the load point so far back. But it doesn't really matter if you set the load point all the way back. It doesn't make any difference if you set the load point there and you set it up there. Courseplay will only unload at the front of the silo, but you need to be well within the silo to set the load point. So what's going to happen now is that the class tractor will drive back, and it will start to level and compact the chaff that we just unloaded, and you can see that it is detecting where is the ground, and it's driving back there like that. There we go. So that is working out just fine. So I just wanted to show you that the leveling and compacting tractor is actually picking up on what it needs to do now. So as you can tell, it's going to push the chaff back to the back of the silo here, and it's going to build up a pile at the back of the silo. But it's not going to clean out the front of the silo entirely, as you can see here. It will leave something behind. So the level of the chaff will start to rise all over the silo, but there will be a pile building up at the back, as you can see already. Alright, let's head back to the field and see how it goes with the Massey Ferguson. So hopefully we could get the first lane of the headlands done right here. I'm gonna clip on through to when the trailer is full, and I'm going to show you what happens next time we get back to the silo. So I'll see you in a little bit. And it seems to be driving this course just fine. That seems to be working out pretty well. Once it gets back to the silo here, it is going to tell the class tractor, hey, here I am, I need to get into the silo. So it's going to stop right there. You can see that the class tractor down in the pit has turned on its beacons, which is indicating that it has detected that there is a tractor right here. But what's going to happen right now is quite funny. It might not happen this time, but it will happen eventually. Alright, it didn't happen this time. That was pretty fortunate. But remember when we set up the level and compacting route, of course, we set it up to have this tractor detect any vehicles with running engine. Now, Courseplay has a function that says fuel save option. The fuel save option will turn off the engine of a tractor if it has to wait a certain amount of time. Now, we were lucky this time that the class tractor got out of the way before the engine turned off on this tractor. Otherwise, this tractor would have turned off the engine and it would have been parked up here. The class tractor would have detected it being up here, but it wouldn't have giving way to it because this engine wasn't running. So we need to save, or we need to turn up the fuel save option like that. Otherwise it's not going to work. It's just a very good tip for you guys. Turn up the fuel save option, otherwise you will get into trouble. I just wanted to let you guys know. It happened to me a couple of times and I couldn't for the life of me figure out what was going on until it all of a sudden just dawned on me. Alright, there's a fuel save option. Right, so it's going to go back to the Forage Harvester now, and that course is set up pretty well, so we don't need to worry much about that. So let's go to the case tractor that we need to set up a course for as well. So we can have 2 tractors driving chaff back to the silo. So for this tractor we want to go into the combi mode as well. And now we can go into the driving settings. And in here we have the option to copy a course. So we're going to copy the course from the Massey Ferguson. And we simply do it by click this icon here. Now we have the course from the Massey Ferguson loaded into this tractor here. A couple of things that we do need to worry about is the fuel save option that we're going to deactivate. And we need to set the manual search to the big X. And that's pretty much it. We're ready to go, and we're going to say drive course from the next closest waypoint. That is going to ensure that we're going to get to the stop point of the transport course. No, it didn't. We're going to go back to the silo. We have got nothing to unload, so it doesn't really matter. Alright, so let's just see if this is going to work out the way it should. Now on this attempt, the engine would have turned off on the case, sorry, if we hadn't turned off the fuel save option. But with the fuel save option deactivated, this is working out just fine. There we go. And at least now we can test if the case can reverse back to the silo as well. It seems to be going okay. I really did a poor job on reversing that one. Thankfully Courseplay doesn't really care about it. Yeah, that was working out just fine. So what's going to happen now is that the case is going to go back to the field and it's going to position itself at the end of the transport course. And then it's going to wait. And it's going to wait until the Massey Ferguson has a 50% load on its trailer. Once that happens, the case is going to go to the Massey Ferguson and follow it. So it's ready to take over when the Massey Ferguson has a full trailer. So if I wanted to say that it's not necessary for this tractor to follow the other tractor already at 50%, I could scroll this one up to like 75%, but seeing as it's a very large field, I don't mind that it's at 50%. So you can see it's waiting until fill level is reached. The fill level is basically this one here. Alright, let's just have a look at how this goes. And there we go, it's now following the tractor. So it's going to go to the Massey Ferguson and it's going to drive behind the Massey Ferguson and wait for the Massey Ferguson to have a full trailer. And once the Massey Ferguson has a full trailer, this tractor is going to go and take over and follow the Forage Harvester. Now I'm going to follow it along because the headlands is a little bit tricky. It can be a very, very tricky task to set up, as you can see here. It will probably get stuck in a tree or something like that. So setting up all of this initially is one hell of a task. Wow. Alright. Actually, it seemed to work out just fine. That's nice. Alright, the Master Ferguson is full, so the case is going to take over and go alongside the Forage Harvester, as you can see there. Master Ferguson is off and the case is following the Forage Harvester. And it seems to be working out just fine. And I'm quite curious if Courseplay can handle this turn now. It just about can. Oh, it's close. There we go. On the third headland it can handle that turn on its own, otherwise I would have to do it manually. But that's just how it is with sharp turns. Alright, I'm gonna skip ahead until this trailer is full and we're gonna follow the case down to the silo, so I'll see you in a little while. And here we have the case pretty much full, or the trailer of the case pretty much full. The Master Ferguson is using the Pathfinding, so it's actually on the other side of the field, driving on the headlands and heading towards the Forage Harvester. But now the case is full and it's heading back. Oh, there we have the Master Ferguson, they are in the distance. The case is heading back to the transport course, and you can see that it's using the pathfinding to avoid driving on the crops. So all it took was a couple of headlands before the pathfinding actually kicked in. But so far it's going really great, and let's just follow the case back to the silo. I'm going to shut up so you guys can enjoy the sound of this case. I do like the sound of that case, it is really nice. But here we are waiting for the leveling and compacting tractor to be done, and I think once it's reached the end down there, it's going to go to the waypoint and allow us to go into the bunker silo. There we go. And thankfully Courseplay is really good at reversing. Can't believe I set up such a bad reverse course. But as you can see in the bunker silo, a pile is starting to build up at the end down there, but it is not pushing everything back there. Alright, it seems to be going really well, so I'm gonna skip ahead guys, and I'll rejoin you when we are ready, or when we're done with the headlands and we are on the normal course on the field here. So I'll see you in a little bit. So now the headlands are done and Courseplay is driving east-west in the normal harvest mode, and as you can see here, when we come to the end here, you'll see why it's necessary for us to have that big amount of headlands with the new turning function. So we're just going to follow the Massey Ferguson here, and you can see how it's going to react here. It's basically going to turn around, and it's going to take up a lot of space for that. So it is actually necessary for us to have 6 headlands with this new turn-in function. But the turn-in function is good. It is securing, or it is making sure that we're not going to get stuck on trees and stuff like that, as long as you take into consideration that you need a bigger amount or larger amount of headlands for the turning function. As you can see here, it's going to reverse back to the Forage Harvester and line itself up. You can see the case tractor has come along to join us. Alright, but I'm gonna cut the video here and I'm gonna get back to you once we're pretty much done with the field. So I'll see you in a little while. Alright, so we are getting the silo filled pretty well. As you can see, we're at 307,000 litres in the silo now, and I think the capacity is about 500,000 litres. So we are filling up pretty fast, and if we follow the, I think the Massey Ferguson is on his way back here, so once it comes back here to the silo, we can follow that back to the field and see how that goes. But as we talked about earlier, Courseplay will push the majority of the chaff to the back of the silo, but it will fill up the silo continuously all around, as you can see here. So once it's set up, it can pretty much take care of itself. I've not actually done anything since we set up the courses. Everything is done by Courseplay. I've just pretty much been really lazy. And I think the Massey Ferguson is on its way here, so let's jump into that once it comes back here, and we can follow that back to the field so you can see how far we've gotten there. Alright, let's have a look at it. So the class has detected the tractor has come along, and we'll go up to the waypoint and allow the Massey Ferguson to unload once again. Here we go. But as you can see in the silo, we do have some cleaning up to do once we're done here. You can see that some of the chaff has actually gone outside of the boundaries of the silo. So you will need to clean that up once you're done, but besides that, everything else is done perfectly by Courseplay. So it's definitely worth setting it up right the first time, so you have everything done perfectly. Okay, let's head back to the field and see how far we've gotten there. We're just going to get in the cap view and have a look at it from here. And now you can really see how the pathfinding is actually working in Courseplay. You can see that the Massey Ferguson here is trying to avoid the crop as much as possible and driving on the headlands. It's a really nice feature in the updated version of Courseplay. I can't remember from what version the pathfinding was implemented, but it is a really nice feature and I really like it a lot. And Courseplay has done a really good job of trying to get as much crop harvested as possible. So you can see here in the corners it's just a very tiny bit that isn't being harvested. So it's pretty hard to do the same job yourself without missing some of the crop here and there. So just about half of the field is done now, a bit more than half of the field is done, and there hasn't been any major issues with Courseplay. I've had to manually take over a couple of times to get tractors unstuck in traffic and stuff like that, but nothing major. There's not been any major incidents or anything, so it's really worked out pretty well. And I think I'm just going to let it go to the end, guys. And this has been a little bit of a preview of the map that I'm currently working on as well. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. And if you have any questions or any comments, do post them down below and let me know. Alright, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one, guys. Bye for now.